So I, 18F, hung out with this guy, 21M, who had set me up 3 times before, but I was really bored and lonely. My actual crush said he felt like he was entering a depressive episode, and I didn't want to bother him, so I gave this other guy a shot. He picked me up and immediately threw me off. He looked strange, nothing really like his photo, but whatever. We didn't really have a plan. I already felt super uncomfortable, but I decided to give it a try anyway. He drove to a gas station to do whatever he needed to do. Then I said we should totally go to Dave & Buster's, and he said, might as well. So we went. He blew $40 on tickets, but we ended up giving the card to some kids because, in his words, I don't want anything. That part was fine, but after that he started acting really weird. He kept joking about killing us while driving and swerving, and at one point he was driving with his knees and had both hands above his head. I don't know if he thought it was impressive or what, but I just stared at my phone and pretended not to notice because I was already so uncomfortable. Then he parked at a local park that was completely locked and said, "Aw man." And I told him of course it's locked, it's a town park and it's late. So he just sat there, parked, and I could feel that he was trying to make a move. I stayed glued to my phone, knowing exactly what he wanted, and eventually I suggested we head downtown, which is near my place. He said okay, but once again started swerving, speeding, and driving with no hands. I was so unbelievably uncomfortable. I kept dropping hints that I wanted to go home, but he wasn't picking up on any of them. We got downtown and he said he needed a smoke break, so he parked in front of a smoke shop and went inside to buy a cart while I sat in the car texting my friend about what a nightmare I was trapped in. When he came back, he started driving through random neighborhoods and kept pointing out secluded houses he liked, talking about which ones he could see himself living in. It was so creepy. We finally got back to the main street, and again, he randomly turned off and almost hit a pole. I asked him what he was doing, and he said, "Sorry, I'm impulsive," then launched into this whole monologue about his dangerous lifestyle. He had not asked me a single thing about myself the entire time. He just kept talking about himself. At this point, I was over it, so I tried to steer the vibe back to my house. I thought he got the hint when we were near my place, but then he randomly noticed a clock on the side of a Wegmans and said, "Whoa, that's so cool. I want to go see that." I said, "Yeah, I live near it. Obviously I've been there." And he said, "Okay, smart ass," and laughed. I didn't laugh because it just wasn't funny. He parked in the empty Wegmans parking lot and took off his seatbelt, moved his seat back, and kept giving me that look guys give when they want to kiss you. I was on my phone messing with my vape and scrolling to make it very clear that wasn't happening. Then he randomly said, "Okay, tell me about yourself." And I said, "Okay, ask questions." He just sat there in silence and said, "You clearly want to go home." I thought finally he got the message. I raised my hands and said, "Yeah, sure, whatever." But instead of taking me home, he started asking me questions again, so I was trapped yet again. I told him about my college plans, and then he started asking where my family is from and what my last name is. He then went on an entire rant how Nigerians are evil and how I must be toxic. The whole thing just felt weird. I think I've mentally blocked out some parts because it was that uncomfortable. Eventually, I said I was getting tired, and he finally agreed to take me home. But instead of going the normal way, he took the longest route possible, then missed my turn on purpose. I pointed it out, and he said, "Fuck, okay," then turned around. We finally got to my house, and just as I was about to leave, he parked and pulled his seat back again. I just sat there trying not to show any fear because I really didn't want him to touch me. He kept looking at me, clearly wanting to kiss, but I didn't even want to look at him. Then somehow he started talking about Palestine and Israel, which I'm interested in because it's obviously a heartbreaking conflict. But then he started blaming Jews for everything, saying they run all the banks and basically control the entire world. I asked him if he blamed all Jews, because that's what it sounded like, and he said no, but just kept going with more conspiracies. He said his family had to escape to Egypt, and I said I was sorry. He kept looking at me like he wanted to kiss, and I just refused to look back. Then he said he wanted to show me this ancient scripture of Israelite laws and pointed to something that claimed the age of consent was 3.5 years old. Mind you, he idolizes Kanye and was wearing Yeezys talking about how Jews are all evil and should all die. I asked him has he met a real Jewish person and spoke to them. All he said was, "Yeah, I work at a car dealership, they are greedy and cheap," and proceeded to burst out laughing. I was just frozen thinking, This cannot be real. That's when I said, okay, well, I really have to go, and tried to play it casual so he wouldn't touch me. I said we could hang tomorrow, and he said, okay, for PM, are you free? I lied and said I'd check my work schedule. I pretended to check and said, yeah, that works. I told him to text me when he got home and dashed out of that car like my life depended on it. The second I got inside, I texted my friend everything, made sure he wasn't following me, and immediately blocked him on Tinder and Instagram. I don't know what kind of person thinks any of that is appropriate on a first date, but I hope I never cross paths with him again. Hi. Thank you so much for reading this and the criticism. I can understand how some of you feel like this is my fault because the red flags were there, and yet I still stayed. I just want to know a few things. I did kind of tell him he's acting a bit strange and he apologized, but then it happened again a few minutes after. I know he can't read my mind, and I agree, so I will take all accountability for this. I will keep note to always meet in public and not share my address. I live in an apartment complex and told him to meet me in a different building than mine, so he does not know which floor or door I live. When I say he led me on, we planned to meet up multiple times, but he usually slept on me or ran out of time. I understand I need to learn how to speak up and be more confident. I should have demanded him to take me home, but at that point I genuinely felt that he would have did something to me because how much of a maniac he seemed. When he was swerving and laughing, I loudly said stop, and I didn't like that. At that point, we were already 20 minutes away from my house, and he apologized. I did check Uber prices, and they were $50, hence why I felt trapped.